What's up guys, duarktikhq here with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we are going to take a look at the video of Goofy Rexy that is quitting Marvel Strike Force. We're going to take a look at all the points that he makes about the game. I'm going to say if I agree or disagree, and I'm going to try to not dunk or anything. My goal is not to dunk on him because I actually like a lot his content in terms of Marvel Strike Force. I think he was one of the most well-rounded content creators out there, and it's quite sad for the community to see him go. I can understand some of the points of his frustration. I made an entire list with all the points of frustration that he had, but I think it's better to hear his own voice and his own expression talking about these topics, and then we're going to pause throughout the video and I'm going to give my response based on those topics. And in the very near future, we are going to probably make some kind of podcast taking a look at the 40-page document of the MSF player voice and have a real debate if the document is absolute nonsense or not, because I already read part of it and I completely disagree with a lot of things that are going on there. But yeah, I need more people to participate in the chat, and this is why I want to do some kind of podcast, so it's not just my voice speaking into the echo. And on top of that, like, I honestly don't know what the hell is going on with Marvel Strike Force, because in terms of my own channel, my channel is more successful than ever. Every day on my live streams, I have between 100 to 200 people on live stream, and this is without any promotion from other content creators. This is with all the controversies and so on. We have more and more people attending to my live streams, more people participating in the chat, more people talking about the game and having questions and so on. So for me, from my perspective and from my outside of the Info program and from all of these different perspectives from the mainstream Marvel Strike Force content creators, the game is better than ever. It's better than ever. And I know that a lot of other people have the same opinion. So is really the problem with the MSF? Is just part of the community? What the hell is going on? We're going to talk about that in the future. So once again, we're going to take a look at the video from Goofy Rexy. We're going to take a look at his points and see exactly what is the situation with him. And once again, like, we are not dunking or anything. I just I like his content quite a lot. I just don't agree with a lot of things that he says. If you guys want me to do the same thing about Tauna's video, we can do it. I didn't want to do it as a first video to reply to, because it had a lot of emotional attachment and personal things that Tauna mentioned in his video. So I will leave you guys to decide. If you guys want me to react to Tauna's video, let me know in the comments below. Okay, so let's get started. Let's take a look at what Goofy Rexy has to say in terms of MSF, and hopefully you guys can listen very well when we start playing this. Okay, so let's get started. Here we go.
All right, if you've clicked on this video, you know exactly what this is going to be about here. We are going to be quitting Marvel Strike Force, retiring from Marvel Strike Force, hanging up the MSF fleet, whichever phrase you want to attach to it. Either way, we ain't going to be logging in no more. This pertains to MSF here. We'll go through the reasons why I'm making this decision here. I want to make this quick. I don't want to make this a long, drawn-out video. And then we'll also talk about what the future of this channel is going to look like as well. But if I were to put an overarching theme to everything, I would say just two words: not fun. Like, this game is just ultimately not fun anymore, if you ask me. The content, it's so cookie cutter now, right? It's very cookie cutter. They're telling you exactly where to use everything. And I was hoping that with Cosmic Crucible being introduced, you know, a year ago, months ago, whatever, right, that would have been an outlier, that based on what you had to build for your raids, for what you had to build for war, or what you had to build for Scourge events, whatever, that there would be an overlapping, which there is, but they've definitely doubled down on the cookie cutter crap by telling you, hey, Masters of Evil is supposed to be able to beat Wakandans, or it's primarily built to beat Wakandans, because of course with Darkhold, they were able to be Wakandans, and they had to course correct that by putting in the negative stats. And of course, Tangled Web, Eternals, you need to use your new warriors if you want the optimal matchup, and they're just going to continue to compound and do this all over and over again. And that has just been a large part of my frustration, on top of the fact that they've done it everywhere else already. This game there's been less creativity given to the players in regards to what they can do, right? Doom raids, you have to use Bio Team, Mystic Team, all this. Like, you have to use the specific teams that they create to be able to do that content. And I just largely think that it's not fun. And as we're talking about raids, we saw what they did with the Web Warriors for the Bio raids, right? It was the Web Warriors were killing Doom 2. Overtuned for Doom 2, right? And then you bring them into Doom 3, and they almost like penalized us for, I guess, they're making them too strong, and gave you a specific counter to the Web Warriors in the Doom raids, and they're doing the exact same thing essentially with the Bionic Avengers, although they weren't doing that well in Doom 3 either, at least at the higher tiers. But now they are completely countered in the Incursion raids, and they're gonna probably sell you that solution to be able to fix that problem. That has been a major issue, if you ask me. It's because this game has become so cookie cutter, no creativity, and I just think that that's largely not fun. Another thing that's not fun is that they think that the only new content in this game.
Okay, so we have the first topics from Goofy. So he mentions not fun, too cookie cutter. He thought that Cosmic Crucible was going to fix the situation of being too cookie cutter. We have a super cookie cutter in raids, in Alliance Wars, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so for these topics, I cannot agree. And this is a problem with the mindset of the players, is because a lot of the players in Marvel Strike Force, they like being told what to do. They like being told what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. Do not listen to Scopely. Do not listen to Scopely. This is something that at the beginning of Season 3, I told to my audience, to the 200 people that show up on my live streams. I told them, if they are forcing you to use Eternals with Tangled Web on defense, then you just put them on offense. You don't have to use them on defense. It's actually better for you to use them on offense. So this situation that, oh, they are creating cookie cutter situations, it's only because you allow them to do that. The community saw right away that Tangled Web were extremely strong on defense when the characters were released because of the way their kits work when they are being controlled by the AI. They're always good with the AI, they are pretty decent with the AI. Of course, when the player controls, it's going to be better, but they had a good system to being controlled by the AI. And because we push this agenda of using Tangled Web on defense, Scopely saw an opportunity. Okay, so we made these characters that were good for defense and offense. Everyone is using them on offense, so let's increase their value on defense, so after we can sell a solution. Yes, they took opportunity of what the community created, but the same power that you have in putting Tangled Web on defense, you also have that same power to now change them to offense. If everyone has new warriors on offense, what's the point of using the Eternals with Tangled Web on defense? It doesn't make sense anymore. So you have to change and adapt to this new meta. You cannot allow Scopely to control your roster. If you allow your Scopely to control your roster, of course you are not going to have fun. And this is the problem, is that once again, people like being told what to do, and this is your biggest mistake. Don't allow the company to tell you what to do, because then you are not going to have fun, like he said, you are not going to have agency, and you are not going to be able to control your roster, and this is something you don't want to do. So right now, if you have Tangled Web on defense, put them on offense, make two teams, use Tangled Web in one way, use Eternals with other way, Eternals with Apocalypse, it's great, Tangled Web with Hela, it's great. If you are on a meta, for example on Masters and Diamond Plus, like Diamond Plus and Masters, it doesn't make any sense for you to have Tangled Web with Eternals on defense, because everyone has the counter, So once again, don't allow Scopely to control your life, don't allow Scopely to control your roster, don't allow Scopely to control which characters you use. We created this situation of using Tangled Web on defense, And now you can say, screw you to Scopely and use them on offense. Why are you not doing that? Why are you allowing these people to tell you what to do? So yeah, it's true that if you allow companies to control your roster, yes, you're not going to have as much fun. In terms of the raids, I cannot agree as well. I cannot agree as well. The Web Warriors, they were great. They were okay. They were not actually that great on Doom 2. They seemed fine, but they were not like, whoa, mind blown. On Doom 3, yes, they were not amazing by any means. Were they able to one-shot all the content on maximum difficulty? Yes, they were able to one-shot all the content on maximum difficulty. What about incursion raids? Can you use the Web Warriors on incursion raids right now? Yes, you can still use Web Warriors on incursion raids. I made a video recently about these. We can take a look at my YouTube channel, and we just made a video about these like last week. So the problem is that is it the best way to invest on your roster? It depends. It really depends on what you want to do. So you can see right here, no thanks, Rebirth versus Web Warriors. The Web Warriors, they still work fine. The content is definitely harder. Yes, it's harder. Is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. So it's up to you to decide. Do you want to have more challenging content, or do you want to buy the new team? If you want to buy the new team, of course you're going to have some benefits, but if you don't want, you can still play with the Web Warriors. With the symbiotes are dead. Forget about symbiotes. But with the Web Warriors, they were a way more well-designed team, and they still work fine if you put investment in them. Are you going to tell me that if you put teal gear and more levels on the Web Warriors, they're not going to work? Of course they're going to work. Just they have a different strategy compared to the Rebirth team. They still work fine. In terms of Cosmic Crucible, once again, don't allow Scopely to control your meta. We, as a community, we decide the meta. We know which characters we put on defense and on offense. The rooms, they help us a little bit to the side, but at the end of the day, when you have situations that you have hard counters like Masters of Evil and New Warriors, then you just have to flip the meta on itself and make sure that those characters are not facing the teams they are counter against. Other problem with the Cosmic Crucible that could make the game a little bit more fun is having more rooms. But hopefully this is something that we'll see in the future, because yes, if we have more rooms, we would be able to have a more diverse experience. And on top of that, I mentioned this so many times to community manager Archangel, but the rules of Cosmic Crucible, they have to be more complex. The rooms that we have, for example, on room 5, that should be the global rooms, not just the rules for one room. They should be across all rooms. But this is something that hopefully in the future we can see, because it's really holding back the creativity of the players. And yeah, Scopely is trying to hold us back, which is the biggest mistake. The more freedom you give to us, the more experience, the more we are going to waste resources, and the more money we need to spend on the game, so you can buy those resources to use on our characters. So it's up to them. Okay, let's move on to the next topic of Goofy Rexy.
Is new characters. Seriously, the only fun in this game is new characters. That's pretty much essentially all it is, right? It's new characters. They're barely doing any reworks anymore, so it's pretty much all these new characters that then they sell you that is specifically for a problem that they have already created, whether it's Cosmic Crucible, whether it's Alliance War, whether it's whatever. Like, they're specifically selling you that in order for you to be able to use it in a specific area. Largely not fun. Instead of actually creating these events and making events having some nice unique components, some actual challenges that are not too challenging, but some actual challenges, they're just kind of just creating and releasing these new characters, and then of course telling you exactly where to use them. And I want to talk about the incursion events, because I was asked.
Okay, so let's talk about this topic specifically. So he mentioned the only content we have in game is new characters. We have no longer reworks, which is a big problem for sure. And the events, they are not complex, they are not challenging, they are not interesting, they are not unique. We can address all of that. So, in terms of new characters being the only content, unfortunately, that's the case for this type of games. Most mobile games that work around the live services, they work exactly like this. Like, usually the content that you get weekly is a new character. Of course, you cannot have new content every day, because new content takes quite a long time to develop, like Dark Dimension, raids, and so on. They need to establish a point of difficulty where there is some progression with your roster, where there's some progression in terms of challenge. Otherwise, like, the game would be stagnated. So, of course, releasing characters is the easiest way to create new content. You could also create new content by changing the rules of Alliance Wars, of Arena, of raids, of Cosmic Crucible more often. Even Dark Dimension, you could make some changes like, oh, today or during this month you can only use bio characters in Dark Dimension, or bio and skill, so you have two options. So yeah, for sure, there could be some different changes that you could make, like Arena, even Arena. Can you imagine like applying Cosmic Crucible rules in Arena? That would be great as well, in my opinion. It would make the content more diverse throughout the different months. So yeah, of course, that this is something that Scopely should do, but are the envoys even sharing this? Because from what we know of the envoys, all they do is to ask for more free gifts. Oh, we want more free gifts, we want this character, we want that character. At the end of the day, is anyone actually giving good ideas to the developers to improve the experience of the game? I'm not sure about that. Now, in terms of reworks, I think that's a huge mistake, that we don't have more reworks, but I understand why it is a problem. It's because we don't have enough resources, and that's because of the economy of the game. So if you guys don't know, there is two systems of progression in mobile games, or in all games in general. You have vertical progression and you have horizontal progression. So types of vertical progression is leveling up your character. So you go from level 1 to level 100. Then we have horizontal progression, which is gear tiers, ISO 8, red stars, yellow stars, and mods, which we don't have in the game yet. But these are additional methods of increasing the power of your character. And the biggest problem with Marvel Strike Force right now is that they rely too much on vertical systems of progression. And the minor horizontal systems of progression they are too linear anyway. So they are secondary vertical systems of progression. So we have levels from 1 to 100. We have stars from 1 star to 7 stars. Red stars, the same thing. It's pretty much adding up. Then we have ISO 8. ISO 8 is a nice horizontal system of progression, but then it becomes linear again, because we have ISO 8 from 1 green to 5 blue. And we need something like mods that gives randomized progression system where you can never reach the cap. This will always be changing according to the meta, according to the characters you are using, and also specializations. I don't know if you guys remember Marvel Future Revolution, they had a grid system like you can find also on Final Fantasy X. And that grid system allows you to progress your character in specific ways that you find more favorable. And the difference between that system and the ISO 8 and so on it does not become vertical. You just have that environment where you can progress your characters, and then that's it. You can adapt certain talents to your characters, and then you can adapt them according to the meta. So once again, the problem with the reworks is that we are too dependent on the progression system of Marvel Strike Force, and that affects the economy. As soon as you create more horizontal ways of progressing your characters, of making your characters more powerful, then the value of gold, the value of training materials is not as relevant. The inflation of the gold is not as relevant. And we see this on games like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is 7 or 8 years old already, much older than Marvel Strike Force. And because they made this system of horizontal progression, and because they have mods, that is a never-ending cycle of progression, you never have the maximum progression possible, then they can afford giving more gold and more training materials to people, because it's not as important, it's not as relevant to the end game. And this is something that Scopely is not paying attention to, or maybe they don't care about it, because yeah, it might be a little bit more difficult or hard to develop, I don't know. In terms of the events, make the events more unique. Yes, we could do that, but the problem with that is what DuArktik was saying. that we have to change our behavior in-game to afford that. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to do that. So, for example, you want to make event uniques. So we have an event that requires you to participate in raids, but instead of using Rebirth, you have to use Web Warriors. Would you be happy with that? Because that's exactly what you are asking for, but I'm not sure if you'd go back on doing Doom 3 raids or Doom 2 raids just because you want to participate on this event. Otherwise, people would struggle too much to complete events because they don't have the skills or they don't have the size of the characters in order to participate in these events. So while I understand what he wants, it's not easy to implement, and the amount of game modes we have right now in the game cannot afford this system. So we could do this in Cosmic Crucible, we could do this in Arena, we could do this maybe on RTA, but you guys don't like RTA, right? So we could do this even in Blitz, or I don't know, in Raids, which is the main game mode for Marvel Strike Force. In Alliance Wars, this is not exactly things that you can afford because you don't have enough characters and you don't have enough viability of implementing these. So while I understand this point, it's not something that is easily approachable. Let's move on. Let's continue with his other points.
Specific question about the incursion events by somebody over at Balance Entertainment here, and I don't want to call them out, and I also understand why they were asking these questions, but it frustrated me a little bit, and it kind of helped to propel me to leave this game, which was, they asked me, hey, can you tell me about the incursion events? Like, what did you like about it? The events for the invaders, right? Those new events. They were just like, hey, what did you like about it? And I was, first of all, they said, what did I like about it? They didn't even ask me what I didn't like about it. They said only positive things, and so that took me back a little bit here, and I was like, the only thing I really like about it is that we got some extra rewards, right? And then they were just like, bro, the rebuttal was, man, how, like, is that it? Like, what about the fact that you were able to get a 3-star character and then a 4-star character if you grinded? And I was like, you're packaging it differently, but the end result is the same. It's either a 3-star character or a 4-star character if I super grind. Now, of course, we know that the 4-star characters now are if you spend, but I was trying to make a point here. I'm like, you're packaging it differently, and the end result is ultimately the same, where most players are only getting that 3-star character. So how excited am I supposed to be about that? On top of the fact, too, that you also have to get new characters and build new characters in order to be able to use to get through the event. So for me, I was just like, bro, I don't necessarily know how I'm supposed to be over the top excited about it when you're just giving it to me in a different package. And that leads me to talk about other events, right? The events don't feel rewarding anymore. They feel like a massive chore. I gotta log in to collect. First of all, you have to hoard crap, which they've kind of changed it up a little bit now. But you have to hoard your raid credits, you have to hoard training ores, you have to hoard gold. You know, and you have then the blitz events, like the events where you have to log in and blitz every 2 hours to do 4 or 5 rotations, depending on where your roster level is. I just didn't find that to be fun. And one of the things that frustrated me with Blitz is that Cerebro said it was a staple of the game. And Cerebro's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. Once again, not targeting anybody here, but man, dude, what the hell? It's a staple of the game? Do they understand how much players hate Blitz? How the F is that a staple of the game, dude? These antiquated game modes, they gotta get rid of them, man, and bring in something that's fresh and new, right? And then don't make that cookie cutter, but bring in something that's fresh and new that excites players. What happened to Avengers Tower? Like, when is that coming back, right? Pocket Dimension, there should be more of those things happening in the game. But then again, these events are such large screen time sinks where this month-long event, and you have this event that ties to that event, and then that event that ties to this milestone and this milestone. So it's like, bro, maybe I'm asking for things that's gonna screw you guys over in the end. But ultimately, let's be real. Do you feel like you're logging in because you're actually looking to have fun, or do you feel like you're logging in ultimately out of obligation?
Okay, so let's address all of this. This was very interesting for sure. Okay, so first off, we started with incursion raids, or the incursion events. Did I like the incursion events? I did like incursion events, and the reason why I like the incursion events is because they had more flavor to them. They had those minor stories that had attachment to them. What I think it could be a little bit better is the difficulty. The difficulty was too easy on the challenge difficulty. It was so easy that the gear requirements for them made the event absolutely nonsensical. Like, if you call it challenge, make sure it's actually challenge. If you are asking us to pay for this experience, at least make it actually an experience. Once again, the flavor was nice. The extra lore related with the characters was great. And the rewards were pretty decent as well. People maybe forget about that, but we got tons and tons and tons and tons of training materials. We got tons and tons and tons and tons of Gear T16. And then we got the isolate pool level 4 and level 5, if you had the full team at 5 yellow stars. So overall, as someone that pays to play this game, that participates on the economy of the game, absolutely, it was way better experience than having to blitz or whatever a meaningless event compared to what we had. Once again, could it be slightly better? Yeah, sure, in terms of gameplay, it could definitely be better. But overall, I mean, it was way better than these nonsensical events on the website and so on. In terms of the weekly events, I agree with him to a degree, but I also don't agree, because most of the events, they are based on participating in the game. And the problem with duarktikhq is also the problem with Downa. It's also the problem with other content creators, is that they don't play the game actively. They don't play the game daily. Like every day I do my raids because I like to do the raids. If you are simming the raids, of course you are not going to enjoy playing the game, because you are not playing the game. You're just simming, and that's not playing. So yeah, the events that we have should be based on what we do in game, and it is the case. Now, of course, that we have problems with Blitz. Blitz, I think it's a great game mode, but it's not properly designed. Like he said, he's 100% correct. It consumes too much time. But if you think about Blitz, Blitz is actually where you have all what you asked for. You have a diversity of how you can use your roster. You have a diversity on how you build up the teams. You have a diversity to choose if you want to play at, you want to make a roster based on doing Blitz at 8.3, or if you don't want to do Blitz at 8.3. So the Blitz itself is not a problem. The problem with Blitz is that you have to do it 8 rotations per day. That's the problem with Blitz. If they reduce the amount of blitzing to like 6 rotations per day, or maybe 5 rotations per day, I don't think people would have such a problem with Blitz, especially because you are getting more and more teams, and even simming the Blitz teams, it just takes so long to complete it. It just takes so long. So, and people that say, oh, but Blitz is not a bad game mode. We have games like Football Manager. It's exactly the same. Football Manager is pretty much similar to Blitz. Not 100%, but it's similar. You set up your team and then you see it playing out if you sim, or you play it yourself on manual. So yeah, I understand this frustration with Blitz. In my opinion, it's not a game mode. We actually, if you guys don't know, we actually had the most popular and the most shared Blitz team squad. So my save squads that I shared for Blitz during the Kang event and so on, the guy from msf.gg, Ty J, he said that that specific code of my roster was the most shared across the entire MSF community. We got #1 most shared Marvel Strike Force save squads. So that shows that not only that my save squads is great, but people have some interest on doing Blitz. The only problem, once again, is, and he mentioned, is the time sink. And yes, that should be reduced so you can play other game modes that we actually enjoy. Like Avengers Tower. He mentioned Avengers Tower. What's the problem with Avengers Tower? Is that Scopely makes it too difficult on themselves. I play other mobile games that have similar to Avengers Tower, and it's a month event. Avengers Tower, it's a month event. It's something that starts on the first day of the month and goes all the way to the last day of the month. And they changed the rules of those events. Like, oh, you can only use certain types of characters, or you have some rules like we have in Cosmic Crucible. They have on that type of Avengers Tower. And once again, instead of having Avengers Tower running throughout 1 week, where it's very stressful, where we have no time to play it, we could have Avengers Tower across a month. And the leaderboard, it would still work, it's still fine. You just have to adjust the rewards for it. And once again, even the rewards are not that important. It's all about the challenge, because you already get some gold and so on. It's about the challenge, it's about overcoming. And on the leaderboards, you see who climbed the highest. So yeah, we should have more Avengers Tower. Scopely just asks to, instead of focusing on changing the enemies all the time, just apply rules to the tower the same way like you do to Cosmic Crucible. Or the ultimate costs more energy, or the ultimate costs less energy, something like that, that you can easily replace every month. And every 6 months or so, or every other year, then you do a big change where you change the enemies and you update the tower. Like every 6 months, then you update the enemies. But I don't know, once again, are the envoys doing their work and sharing these ideas with the developers? Because this is extremely easy to implement, and this is something that you can easily repeat every month. I honestly, I don't understand. Now, in terms of the ordering situation, I think it's ridiculous on an RPG that we are forced to order for events. That's absolutely ridiculous. The hoarding should be to a bare minimum, and we are punished so hard for hoarding. So if you guys don't know, we have my latest tier list on how to invest on your characters, and it's just so painful to put any kind of teal gear. So the only characters that I recommend to put teal gear on is Kang for Super Scroll, the requirements to unlock Apocalypse, and then what you are forced to use on the Gamma 4.5. Anything else beyond that, you should only keep it at gear tier 15 and increase the levels from 85 to 95. Because beyond that, it's just so punished. You get so punished for investing or the ISO weight or the gear on the characters because you have so little of them. So in that regard, yeah, absolutely. Like I agree with what he's saying, but this is also something that Scopely can fix. Now, in terms of logging in for fun and logging in for obligation with your alliance and your community, I log in for fun. I play for fun every time I log in for Arena. I wish they would fix Arena. Why we don't talk about fixing Arena, the slingshot, and the fact that you can attack people that are attacking someone else? I think that would be more important. But I log in for fun. If I didn't have to blitz 8 rotations per day, I would log in to blitz 4 rotations per day for sure. My alliance does not hold me accountable. I'm actually one of the leaders of my alliance. My alliance does not hold me accountable. I play the game because I like the game. I'm having fun playing the raids. And Alliance Wars, now the changes they made, you are no longer forced to play Alliance Wars at a specific hour. It's more convenient, of course, to play with your alliance. You can have a great experience joining the Discord and playing on voice chat, talking about your alliance, which characters, which teams you're going to attack, and so on. But it's not a big deal. So I actually think the social experience increased a little bit with Alliance Wars. And I honestly don't feel any obligation with the raids. Now, other game modes like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, their raids work in a completely different system, which is the raid only ends when players complete the raid entirely. So instead of having a 24-hour cycle of raids, they have a raid that can go for an entire week. So maybe this is something that would be more interesting to have some kind of raids like this in Marvel Strike Force. But at the same time, I don't know, because a lot of people would get stuck and then they would have to create a way of ending the raid without being able to complete it, because in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, if you don't have the team of the right size, and if you release a raid that you cannot complete, then you're gonna get stuck for months. It's not for 4 days, it's 4 months. So there is that balance that you need to create of the daily activity and also being able to complete the raid. So yeah, I disagree with the points he made, and in terms of the events overall, it's just the way it has to work right now. In terms of Pocket Dimension is boring AF. We only like Pocket Dimension because it's a great influx of rewards. It's not because of the challenge, because there is no challenge. And if someone has something to complain about, it's not Goofy Rexy. He mentions that he's a mid-range player, is not super competitive. And the people struggling most with the game is actually the most competitive players like myself and the whales, because we have literally nothing to do. Everything is just too easy or not challenging. Yeah, that's it. It's not challenging enough. And the only challenge we have is in Alliance Wars or in Cosmic Crucible when we are facing each other. This could be easily fixed, and once again I have seen this on multiple game modes. Even Diablo 3, Diablo 4, very popular right now, it's creating scaling. So whenever you complete an event or something, the difficulty of the event increases slightly and the rewards also increase slightly based on the progress. And you get to a point that you cannot progress anymore to that point, but then in the future, maybe you can progress again. This is something that would be very, very easily to apply on Dark Dimension. So for example, whenever you complete Dark Dimension 2 for the first time, then the next time you are going to complete Dark Dimension 2, the enemies will have 25% more health, stats and so on, and then you get a little bit more gold or training materials and so on. You get some rewards out of it. This will increase the value of game modes like Dark Dimension. Every time you complete it, it gets harder and you get less rewards instead of the first time, of course. But this would greatly recycle the game modes, and this would increase the challenge for whales and the players that are the most competitive. Okay, so great ideas there. Let's move on and see what duarktikhq has to say.
Because I feel like that's essentially what I was doing for the past basically year. I was logging in out of obligation. I'm logging in because I need to do this for this month-long event. I'm logging in because I don't want to let my alliance down because I gotta do the alliance war attacks. I gotta log in for raid attack. I gotta log in to collect campaign energy at a specific time. I gotta log in for the store because I can't miss out on this. Bro, like certain things, like I don't even have red stars yet on Quicksilver, which is crazy. But you know, it's just like a lot of us, if we're being honest with ourselves, we're logging in out of obligation because we've been playing the game for so long, because of our alliance, because of this or that. But it's not really necessarily because of fun anymore in Marvel Strike Force. Their greed is excessive. Character offers are more expensive, but at the same time, you're not necessarily getting the same value. And I've said this a lot of times. I'm like, they've given you less value for your money. Before you used to spend 50 bucks on a character. Let's say that, right? 50 bucks on a character, and you knew that you were going to be getting a 5-star based on the event. Now you spend 50 bucks on a character, and depending on the event, you may only end up with a 3-star because the event may be super grindy, although that's very rare. But you may still only end up with that 4-star character, although you're spending the 50 bucks. So essentially, you're getting less value for your money. And you might argue with me and say, well, lower star characters can now do in-game content. I'm attaching value to what the end result is the actual star value that you were getting on those characters. You're getting less stars than what you were getting before while you're spending the same amount of money or more money, or you're spending money and then having to grind away in terms of your time as well in order to be able to get to that end result. And to me, I just think that the balance is off. They are making this game largely whaley and crackety. Like Dolphins probably there's no really value offers for Dolphins anymore in Marvel Strike Force, and because they've widened the gap for whales and krakens, and the whales and the krakens are going up against each other, and then you have the free to play the Dolphins light spinners that are going up against each other. The competition is not healthy across the board, where it should be more evened out. And because you're doing that, the whales and krakens are burning each other out, and then the free to play, the light spenders, they're getting less interested, like I have, right?
Okay, so let's address all of these. Is the game more greedy than ever? Yes, absolutely. Are the characters more expensive? Yes, absolutely. Do the characters have more value at low stars? Yes, absolutely. What's the benefit of having characters at low stars is that the progress you can make, the time frame you can make from one character from 1 yellow star to 7 yellow stars, the frame is a lot longer. So for the whales, for the krakens, because that time frame is longer, that means they are going to spend more money. Also, because the time frame is longer, maybe some dolphins, maybe from some light spenders, are going to be motivated to buy certain offers that give you some progress towards those characters. There is no offers for dolphins? That's absolutely not true. I actually cannot accept that he said this, because more than ever we have more offers for dolphins, we have more offers for light spenders. We have that massive offer with gold promotion credits for $20 that will greatly progress your account in terms of red stars. And even recently we had an offer for Kang, one of the best characters in the game, one of the characters that you have to pay to access. So for Kang, you had $5 for 50 shards on top of 500 power cores. How can you say that this is not like dolphin friendly or light spender friendly? Absolutely it is. Yesterday or last week we had an offer $5 for 6 million gold. How can you say that there are no offers for dolphins? Absolutely there are. And since Tornado Mag quit the game, that was a change that Scopely made, is that there are way more offers for dolphins and light spenders. Now, it's not every day, of course. The whales, they still have the most of the offers. They are still the ones benefiting the most out of the offers. For example, the offers that give you milestone progress and so on. But we cannot deny the fact that, yes, the amount of offers for dolphins and life spenders is a lot higher. Now, in terms of the characters having lower stars and lower stars from the events, I agree with that for someone that buys the characters whenever they are released, so he can test, so he can do the infographics and so on. Yeah, it has been quite painful that now, instead of spending $100 throughout the month, I have to spend $150 or $200 because, yes, so many characters now are $50 only. Other thing that they changed was that instead of getting orbs, we are getting a flat amount, and that is kind of boring for a live streamer because opening the orbs, there is always the sea theory and the fun around the sea theory, and you could end up with a character at 4 stars or 5 stars based on your luck, and now that's no longer the case. So they flatlined the experience with that, which actually compromised a little bit the experience of the streamers and the experience of the content creators. But in terms of balancing the rewards, it's actually more balanced than ever. In terms of the rewards between the whales and the less spenders, the dolphins or the light spenders, or even free-to-play players, if you take a look at Cosmic Crucible, if you take a look at Alliance Wars, the difference between one tier and the other is just so small that it's almost... it's meaningless, it's minuscule. So once again, I cannot agree with this because it's not true, or you are not paying attention, or I don't know. Like, if you compare a gold tier alliance in Alliance Wars to a Platinum Alliance, yeah, there is a big difference there for sure. But if you compare Platinum 1 to Platinum 2, it's not a big deal. If you compare Masters 1 to Masters 3, it's not a big deal. If you compare Masters 1 to like Silver 3, yeah, maybe, yeah, the difference is going to be huge. But of course, that's based on how you're playing the game, how you are progressing throughout the game. This is, at the end of the day, a RPG. Do you guys understand that? This is not a hero collector game. Some people say, oh, hero collector game. Marvel Strike Force is a turn-based RPG. Turn-based RPG, and this is what it should be at its core. Turn-based RPG. RPG means that we are going to progress throughout the game. We are going to invest on the characters we like. We are going to role-play those games. We are going to role-play those characters to get to our goals. And this is something that people need to put in their minds. It's not a hero collector game. It's not. It's a RPG. So play it like it is. Accept the fact that it's a RPG. Maybe you don't like RPGs. Maybe you like first-person shooters, or you like fighting games like Marvel Contest of Champions. I don't know. Maybe you like Tap 3 or Dial 3 or whatever. Match 3. Maybe you prefer Match 3. That's fine. You can Match 3 and collect characters like that as well. But that's not what Marvel Strike Force should be. It should be, once again, mostly turn-based RPG. Okay, so is that all for this first part? So the $50 no longer guarantee the 5 yellow star. Yes, but once again, that benefits a lot more the whales. That keeps giving advantage to the whales, and I'm fine with that. They are spending thousands of dollars on the game per month. I'm spending like hundreds of dollars. Some people spend dozens of dollars. So we cannot expect to have the same level of privilege that the whales have. We cannot. And if we can guarantee that by getting less character shards, it feels bad, but you just have to understand why it is like this. It's to increase the time frame and the progression of the characters from the beginning to the end. Because otherwise, like, you'd have all characters maxed out early on. What would be the point of that? Not a lot, and especially if you are paying. Then, okay, let's move on to the next topic. We already covered everything that you mentioned so far.
So that's pretty much basically what's going on in the game. There's the excessive bottlenecks. They've introduced gear tier 18, while G17 and 16 for some are still bottlenecks. Definitely 17 is a bottleneck for sure. There's a gold, there's a blue ISO 5. Like, I think it's crazy that we're a year and a half in, and I don't know, there are players who are not even close to being able to get Big Boy Apocalypse, right? Like, not even close to being able to get Big Boy Apocalypse, and we're a year and a half into this year-long event for that character. It's absolutely insane. I've talked about the beginner experience before. There's no real catch-up mechanics other than the spending offers and the time heist offers. That's essentially pretty much all that there is for catch-up mechanics. Now, there are some there are some that are there, but it's kind of like baked in. It doesn't really stand out as being a real catch-up mechanic. So for me, I said that there's no real catch-up mechanic other than really the blatant spending in order to be able to get, and of course it's an excessive amount of spending to be able to do that as a new player as well. Bugs upon bugs upon bugs. Of course, there's been multiple reports of bugs, things that they should change, things that they don't change until too late, things that benefit the players, they change it really fast. I could go on and on. I'm going to stop here, guys, because honestly, I could go on and on. I don't want to rage. Because ultimately it's not worth my energy anymore. We are done. But as it pertains to the future of this channel.
Okay, so let's get these final topics that you mentioned. So you mentioned the bottlenecks. Yes, we have some bottlenecks. Once again, this is an RPG, and if you don't have bottlenecks, if you have not something to fight for, if you don't have a ladder to climb, what's the point of playing the game? The game is going to be stagnated, and that's pretty much it. In this type of games, in RPGs, there is always some system of progression, or otherwise, at the end of the day, you're gonna stop playing the game. Like, for example, I was mentioning Final Fantasy X, which is also action RPG or turn-based RPG as well, like Marvel Strike Force. When you get to level 100, which is a cap, when you collect all the legendary weapons, there is nothing else to do. So the bottlenecks, they give you that next step in terms of progression, and it's something that over the time, like we mentioned before, the time frames, over a specific time frame, it will trickle down in the economy. There are events right now that if you participate on these events, you are going to get gear tier 18, you're going to get gear tier 17, you're going to get gear tier 16. In the past, purple gear was a problem. Right now, purple gear is not a problem at all. Orange gear was a problem. Right now, orange gear is not a problem at all. So this is something that will fix itself across the time. And once again, of course, free-to-play players, light spenders, new players will feel this more and more, but it's something that has to be part of the game. Otherwise, these type of games do not work, and they are not monetarily viable for the company to invest more time developing this game. Like, at the end of the day, if you like Marvel Strike Force, for the characters, for the gameplay, for the team building and so on, you need to understand that they need to have this kind of systems, otherwise the game does not work and the game is not monetarily viable for the company. In terms of other things that you mentioned, the new player experience, no catch-up mechanics, yeah, maybe that's true. But something that new players have is characters rework. Something that players have is tier lists on the community. People that already went through everything that they did and already put all the work together, where they can focus on the characters that matter, where they can focus on the meta. Something that people don't talk about, and it's something related with RPGs, and you experience this in World of Warcraft, for example. Let's talk about World of Warcraft. So when you reach the cap of level 60, then everyone had like epic gear, legendary gear, and so on. But then you have the new cap, you have the level 70, and that level 70 will completely devalue the gear tier 60. But that's fine, that's a new opportunity that you have to progress your roster. It's a new opportunity for new players to catch up. And this is something that my community, the people that go on my live streams, tell me a lot, is that they progress extremely fast based on my advices, because at the end of the day, once again, Marvel Strike Force, turn-based RPG with multiple cycles of progression, and that means Marvel Strike Force is like surfing. Marvel Strike Force is like surfing. If you are at the beach and you saw a wave because you are sitting on the sand, yeah, you saw the wave, it was a perfect wave. You didn't catch it. You didn't catch that wave. So you are missing out because you are not participating on the meta. Then you go into the water and you are still adjusting, you are still cold and so on. Another great wave comes and you miss it as well. Okay, that's fine, you miss it. You are a little bit frustrated, but then you are ready. Then you catch up to the meta. Then you jump at the meta. You didn't catch up those waves, you jump the meta. You go for the next thing. If you didn't got your web warriors ready, if you didn't got your symbiotes ready, now you can get your rebirth ready. So even that, yes, there are not a lot of catch-up mechanics. If you jump the meta, if you catch the next wave, you'll be able to catch up to the more veteran players. Once again, my community with a lot of new players, they have Kang at 5 L stars, even 6 L stars, because they jump the meta. They have Rebirth with 5 L stars, 6 L stars, because they jump the meta. Instead of wasting millions and millions of gold on old teams that were part of the old meta, they jumped the progress because it was no longer necessary. So yes, even that there are a lot of bottlenecks, even that the new player experience is not great, if you pay attention to the content of certain content creators, you'll be able to jump the meta. If you follow good advices, you'll be able to jump the meta and you'll progress throughout the game way faster than if you are just playing on your own and if you're not paying attention. Spending and the catch-up mechanics, I find a little bit outrageous that the time heist offers are so expensive, like $300 for a game, and most of your characters you get are completely outdated. The characters didn't have a rework that was solid enough to make them relevant throughout the time. Yeah, in that regard, yes, that's a big problem. And in other games like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, we have a $50 to $100 offer, and that's going to give you a huge progress to your account. In Marvel Strike Force, we have multiple offers up to like $350, which is insane. And yeah, unfortunately, that's not very welcoming when you feel like, oh, if you, like I said, if you're a new player coming up to the game and you are not part of a Twitch community or YouTube community or Discord community, you feel like you have to buy that in order to progress towards the game, while it's not the case. So the best advice you can give to a new player is to join some community on Discord or follow some content creator that gives good advice. There is a lot of advice out there that is terrible. I'm not going to mention Mr. Artgrave, but I'm going to mention Mr. Artgrave. A lot of people that used to watch Mr. Artgrave, they told me that they were stuck on Dark Dimension for months and months because they follow his advice to get up Spider-Punk, for example, for Dark Dimension, which is absolutely ridiculous. And it's something that at the end of the day, you are responsible for the state of the community. If you don't give good information, if you always make negative videos, if you don't push some positivity and understanding towards the game and towards the community, of course, we are going to have this situation of people quitting the game, content creators quitting the game, envoys quitting the game, because yes, the narrative and the ecosystem is negative. And this is, like I said before, the same way that I don't want you to allow Scopely to control your account, also don't allow the community to push you in a way that is negative, because there are places out there where the community can be quite positive if there is understanding, if there is communication, and if there is a broad perspective that is just beyond our belly button. And that's all I have for this video. Oh, we also have the bugs. Some of the bugs, they are actually not really bugs. It's just people that do not understand the kits. And some of the kits and the tooltips of the kits are not super clear, and people get a little bit confused about that. For example, on the MSF Blair Voice letter to the developers, there is a bug there. Oh, it says in the kit, if Cloak and Dagger are on the same team, if you do the ultimate, then Cloak or Dagger will do this additional thing. But if they are stunned, one of them is stunned, then it's not gonna work. Yeah, bro, like, do you understand how stun works? So how you want your character to do this? if they are stunned. Like, this is some basic shit that if you are complaining about this, then the developers are not going to listen to you, because it's just dumb. It's literally dumb, and it shows that I don't understand. I literally do not understand. If the character is stunned, that means the character is disabled. That means you cannot use the character. So how supposedly you are going to use a combination character, a combination move? You have a combination of these two characters interacting if one is disabled, if one is stunned. So yeah, like, there are certain bugs. Yes, there are bugs on events. Yes, there are bugs in some characters. But when you mention to the developers that you have to fix these type of bugs, like, bro, like, seriously, stop. You are just embarrassing yourself. And that's something very, very ridiculous. Okay, so we are going to end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed this journey throughout what duarktikhq had to say about his perspective of the game, why he's quitting the game, not having fun, feeling like it's a chore, an obligation. It's a perspective. Everyone has theirs, the same way everyone has a... No, I'm not gonna make that joke. It's too easy. Now, if you guys want to check out duarktikhq, make sure you go to his channel. Make sure you check out what he's going to do with his channel in the future. Like I said, in my opinion, he was one of the most decent content creators out there. And it's unfortunate that we are losing this member of our community. But at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, if you're not having a good experience, if you have better things to do with your time, it's completely understandable. So once again, make sure you check out his channel to see what he's going to do in the near future with his channel. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash that like button. And if you found the video helpful, interesting, and anything like that, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content. And I'll catch you guys later.